Let's take the world of Fallout and bring it into Dungeons and Dragons. But actually, that's already been done before in multiple ways. So there's multiple systems that have been built both by fans and by official companies to turn Fallout into a tabletop role-playing game. So I'll go ahead and link absolutely everything I can find related to those in the description down below. But if you want to make a Fallout-inspired character in Dungeons and Dragons, that's what I'm going to do in this video. I'm a huge Fallout fan. I've been loving the series, and I've played every one of the games, at least to some extent. I didn't get too far in some of the older ones, but I got absolutely obsessed with Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4. I even dove headfirst into Fallout 76, but luckily I didn't get scammed out of one of those early bag things. But that's all beside the point. Let's go ahead and dive into a character. We could go with something like a super mutant and build like a Goliath or a half-orc, and we could build like a ghoul. And because they're resistant to radiation, we could go with something that's a race that's resistant to necrotic damage. But I want to focus more on the idea of a vault dweller, because that is so often the character that you're going to wind up playing in most of the Fallout games, and a big part of the new Fallout TV show. And I'm absolutely loving Lucy McLean's character. So with all that being said, we're going to choose a human and go with variant human. This allows us to pick up a feat right at first level, so we're actually going to take sharpshooter. I've met very few people that play Fallout that have gone with a melee build, so we're going to lean into being a ranged character. Sharpshooter allows us to take a -5 penalty to our attack rolls, which is our accuracy, and allow us to get a +10 bonus to our attack's damage. This feat also allows us to ignore certain levels of cover from our enemies and be able to shoot at long range without being at disadvantage. We also get to choose a skill by becoming a variant human. We're going to go ahead and grab perception because it's good in pretty much any game, and there's an entire stat category in Fallout based around perception. So might as well go ahead and make that one of our main skills. Then when it comes to the stats, we're going to have a point spread that looks like this. I wanted to go ahead and dump wisdom because that's all about understanding the world around you. And if you're a vault dweller, you're going to be pretty oblivious and kind of naive to the outside world of the wasteland. Then we get 2 more points from being a variant human. And in the Fallout games, you get a little bit more of a bonus from being intelligent. So we're going to go ahead and boost up our dexterity and our intelligence. Then when it comes to a starting class, well, in most of the Fallout games, you do plenty of building and collecting tons of technology, improving it, using it for yourself, all sorts of stuff. So I feel like that fits pretty well with an artificer. When you become an artificer, you get a couple skills. So we're going to grab Arcana because that's going to be our direct translation to high technology from the Fallout series in more of a fantasy setting. And we're going to grab investigation just to be able to use our intelligence a bit more. Being an artificer gives us proficiency with light armor, medium armor, and shields. And we get saving throws in intelligence and constitution. Constitution is especially helpful as a spellcaster because that's what you need to roll for a saving throw if you're trying to concentrate on a spell. Then at first level of artificer, you get a bit of spell casting and magical tinkering. The magical tinkering part is just some minor magical stuff that you can do with small objects, but it's nothing crazy notable. It's more for role-playing purposes. There are a lot of skill checks in the Fallout universe, so we're going to go ahead and take guidance as far as our first cantrip because that allows us to add a D4 to any skill check that we're going to do. We'll grab mending because that allows us to fix any mechanical objects that we build, and we'll also grab firebolt because then we can shoot stuff a little better. But that's not going to help with our sharpshooter feat, at least not yet. Then I won't cover every single spell that we would pick up, but I want to focus on some that really feel like being in the Fallout universe. The first is going to be recreating the VAT system, where you get to highlight your enemies and target which ones you want. So we're going to grab Fairy Fire. This allows you to have advantage on a group of enemies, and highlighting them almost exactly like VATs. Additionally, we need some stim packs, so we're going to grab the spell Cure Wounds. Then at second level of artificer, you get infuse item. This allows you to recreate magical items or have access to a list of artificer specific magical items. But we're going to save all of the infusions for the end of this build because there's going to be a lot of them, and for the sake of my own sanity and editing, I'm going to save all of those for one big chunk. Then at third level of artificer, you get right tool for the job, so you can reproduce certain tools whenever you need them, which is going to be really handy in case you run out of lockpicks. Also at third level, you get to choose an artificer specialist, which is basically just a subclass. And we have a lot of good options. We could focus on armor in case you want that full-on Brotherhood of Steel power suit. We usually don't get those until later in the game, if at all. And frankly, I never liked using power suits in Fallout. I know I'm kind of a rare case with that, but I always kind of enjoyed just being out in the wasteland just without this big encumbering suit of armor. Not to mention in the later games, you actually have to have fusion cores, which do run out, and I always hate managing even more resources than I have to. And in the old school Fallout games and continuing through all of the new ones, it's pretty common for you to have a companion. You had your trusty dog meat by your side, and in later versions of the game, you even also get a dog companion that is enhanced with robotics. And between that and any of the other robots that aid you in your survival in the wasteland, we're going to choose Battlesmith. A Battlesmith gets a few extra spells that are automatically added to their spell list. They get a feature called Battle Ready, giving them proficiency with martial weapons. And if you attack with any sort of magic weapon, you can use your intelligence modifier instead of your dexterity or strength modifier for the attack and damage rolls. And that's super convenient as an artificer because it's super easy to turn basically anything into a magic weapon. And because we have that feat sharpshooter, I'm going to go ahead and grab a weapon right away and call out the first infusion we would take. We're going to grab a heavy crossbow because it's the highest damaging ranged weapon that we can apply sharpshooter to. Then we're going to go ahead and fuse it with repeating shot. This grants us a +1 to the attack and damage rolls of that crossbow. And it grants us additional features like basically never running out of ammo and never having to worry about that pesky loading property. So now if you get extra attack, you can use it without worrying about loading that crossbow over and over again. Also, the other feature you get right from the beginning of this subclass is a steel defender. This is your own mechanical-based companion to aid you in your travels. And it's often depicted as some sort of pretty large dog, but it can be whatever you want it to be. It is a medium-sized construct with 15 armor class. It has a number of hit points equal to 2 plus your intelligence modifier plus 5 times your artificer level. It has its own skills, its own saving throws. It is kind of a lot to keep track of, so I don't really recommend it for new players. But if you're kind of used to the D&D system, I highly recommend it. It can repair itself, it can have its own attacks, and it can even deflect attacks, imposing disadvantage on its enemies. It is generally what a ranger's companion should have been a long time ago. Then at 4th level of artificer, you get an ability score improvement, so we're going to go ahead and boost up our intelligence by 2 points. Then at 5th level of artificer, we get access to 2nd level spells. The only one I would really worry about is C, invisibility. So that way you can deal with any pesky night stalkers, which are basically giant super mutants that are obsessed with stealth boys that can turn them invisible, and they're terrifying to go up against unless you can see invisibility. Also at 5th level, you get another feature from being a battlesmith, and it's the most basic one, extra attack. So now you can unload that crossbow multiple times, or whatever weapon you're wielding. Then at 6th level of artificer, you get tool expertise, giving you double your proficiency with certain tools. At 7th level, you get flash of genius. So as a reaction, you can add your intelligence modifier to a saving throw for yourself or any other player around you. Then at 8th level of artificer, you get another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and max out that intelligence. Then at 9th level of artificer, you get access to 3rd level spells. The main ones I would focus on are conjure barrage, so you can let out a stream of insanely powerful arrows, or haste, so that way you get an extra attack, double your movement speed, a whole bunch of great stuff. There's a few other good spells here, but let's keep moving along because you also get a feature from being a battlesmith called Arcane Jolt. So once per turn, when you hit a creature with one of your magical weapons or your magic steel defender slash companion thing attacks somebody and hits them, you can add a bit more damage with an extra 2d6 force damage. But you can only use this a limited amount of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Also, instead of actually doing damage with this ability, you can also heal one of your allies or yourself. Then at 10th level of artificer, you get magic item adept. So you can attune to one more magic item than anybody else in D&D. At 11th level of artificer, you get a spell storing item. So you can store a 1st or 2nd level spell into an item, and anybody can use it a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. Then at 12th level of artificer, you get another ability score improvement. So I'm going to go ahead and take the feat tough. You're going to need a ton of health, so let's go ahead and boost it up by taking this feat, which gives us an extra 2 hit points of health per level of this overall build. Then at 13th level of artificer, you get access to 4th level spells. So just in case you imagine your battlesmith steel defender as something that's not a dog and more like somebody that's in a power suit or something, now we're going to grab the spell Mordecai's Faithful Hound. So that way, if you want that dog and you still have a steel defender, you can have that dog too. Usually in the Fallout games, you can only have one companion at a time, but there's definitely a glitch in Fallout New Vegas, which I exploited the crap out of, where you can have multiple companions if you do it right. And yeah, I did that a lot, so I could have every companion simultaneously. The other spells I would grab are Summon Construct, so you can summon another mechanical creature to your side, and Fabricate, so you can build your own items a little quicker. Then at 14th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Savant. So now you can attune to up to 5 magic items, while most people are still stuck at 3, and you can ignore all the race and class and whatever requirements for that item. Then at 15th level of Artificer, you get another feature from being a Battlesmith called Improved Defender. So that Arcane Jolt feature, whether you're healing somebody or you're damaging them a bit more with that force damage, the dice you roll upgrade to 4d6 instead of just 2d6. Your Steel Defender also gets a +2 to their armor class, giving them 17 armor class. And when your Steel Defender uses their ability to deflect an attack, imposing disadvantage on any of their attackers, that attacker is going to take some damage as well, equal to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier. Then at 16th level of Artificer, you get another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up our Constitution by 2 points. Then at 17th level of Artificer, you get 5th level spells, and just to hand out a bunch of stim packs all at once, we're going to grab Mass Cure Wounds. Then at 18th level of Artificer, you get Magic Item Master. So now you can attune to up to 6 magic items while everybody else is stuck just at 3. Then at 19th level of Artificer, you get access to another ability score improvement, so let's go ahead and boost up our Constitution by 2 more points. And then at 20th level of Artificer, which is the max level in D&D, you get Soul of Artifice. This gives you a +1 bonus to all of your saving throws for each attunement that you have. And remember, you can attune to up to 6 magic items, and a +6 to all of your saving throws is absolutely insane. And this feature also allows you to sacrifice one of your Artificer infusions to not drop to 0 hit points when you take damage. So if somebody's going to take you to 0, you can sacrifice an item almost like it's breaking in the Fallout games, and then drop to 1 hit point instead. But now that we've reached 20th level, let's talk about some of those infusions. Now, I already mentioned you get Repeating Shot. That's just absolutely necessary, especially if you want to be firing off a crossbow, which we're essentially going to be saying is a gun, but either way, it's very powerful to have, and I highly recommend it. And even though we are using a actual weapon, I want to go ahead and also grab Improved Arcane Focus. This gives you a +1 bonus to your Arcane Focus early on, but then once you hit 10th level in Artificer, it boosts to a +2. The reason you want to do this is because both your Steel Defender and many of your spells very heavily rely on your spell attack modifier. And this boosts up that attack modifier by a +1 and a +2 respectively, so it's definitely very helpful to have on you. Similarly, we need a bit more defense, so we're going to go ahead and take Enhanced Defense, giving us a +1 to our armor, which also upgrades to a +2 at level 10. We can grab Helm of Awareness if we want more of that system. We can grab a Spell Refueling Ring just because it's a good item. We can grab Resistant Armor, especially if you're dealing with a lot of radiation damage, which we can assume is either necrotic or radiant damage. You just got to decide what's best in your game. And if you want to get a good old power suit, we're going to grab Arcane Propulsion Armor. It increases your speed, allows you to have these magical gauntlets, and overall it's kind of just badass. We'll grab a Bag of Holding just because in any Fallout game and in any RPG in general, carry weight is like the devil, so having a Bag of Holding will just save a lot of headache. We'll improve our strength without having to worry about our stats with something like the Belt of Hill Giant Strength, and you can just go ahead and top it off with something like the Ring of Protection and the Ring of Free Action, just because we need all the items we can get. I think that pretty well covers everything, but I'll go ahead and include a much more robust spell list over on the character sheet, which I have up on Patreon. But let me know if you love the Fallout series, because I know I do, and if you're watching the show, or if you've played any of the Fallout tabletop role-playing games, or any of the Fallout games in general, and if you like D&D related content, make sure to subscribe, because apparently it makes it so you roll more nat 20s in most of your games, which I'm surprised is actually working. And if you want access to the character sheet for this build or any of my other builds, or want to help support this channel in general, you can go ahead and be as awesome as some of these people by becoming a patron over on Patreon. And I have some especially awesome patrons: Dark of Skies, Barrow Scruel, Zach, Felix Ulick, Dennis Bumgardner, Barrelisk, Crembro, Natron209, Kevin Shirley, Zephyros, That Funny Man 57, Joshua Maynard, CGC 2014, Lisa Martinez, Panda Milkshake, Ted Z, Andrew Nobles, Karkat Kitsune, Deckard Joint, Z13, Viral Nerevar, Daniel Galvin, and the Dino 21. Then there's the Dungeon Master level patrons that I actually play D&D with. T. Brownie, Julia B. de Oliveira, Daniel Saffler, Conman ZX, Cyberciety, Zalvador, and Kilo Kilo. Then there's the one, the only, GameSteak. He helps me an insane amount and he is my god tier level patron. So a very special thank you to him. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know by hitting that like button. And I'll be here helping you roll at least 3 nat 20s in your next D&D session, especially if you're trying to avoid radiation damage and play as any sort of vault dweller going out into the wasteland, but taking the Fallout universe and inserting it into your D&D game by playing as a vault dweller / Fallout player in Dungeons and Dragons.